Everybody, welcome to Cloud Talk Live. Hey, my name is Jeff DeVerter. I'm the Chief Technology Evangelist here at Rackspace Technology. And welcome back to our Thursday edition of Cloud Talk Live. Now, here, as you know, as always, we go through, have a great guest on every week. You're not going to be disappointed today, but and then go through some news and what's going on in the cloud providers. But I'd love for you to introduce yourselves. You know the routine. We do this every Tuesday and every Thursday. And so I'd love for you to introduce yourself. If you want to get a hold of us, easiest way to do that outside of just messaging me over on LinkedIn would be to send us an email at solve@rackspace.com. What's Solve, you ask? I'm so glad you asked. That is our thought leadership program. So anytime we talk about Solve here or direct you to a Solve page at rackspace.com, know this. There is no sales there. All we're doing is giving away information. It's there for you to be stronger and better at what you do out there in the world. So with that, hey, we've got our first, we got Shekhar who is here. Thank you for introducing yourself. And hey, thanks so much. Yash is a big fan. We got fanboys in the house. So excited. All right, well, let's move on. Let's see what's going on in the world today. As you know, this is, well, not as you know, this is episode 119. 119 of these little babies right in the can. So if you want to get the audio from these episodes, or if you want to get the audio from the podcast, you just subscribe to Cloud Talk. You can find Cloud Talk anywhere podcasts are found. And this week, holdover from last week, we've got a new episode coming out shortly. But Rick Gruenhagen, CTO of Innovize, he has led his company through an amazing transformation of client server off to 100% cloud native and doing some really great things out there. Victoria from London, I'm so glad that you are here. How's your afternoon, Victoria? I hope it is great. As a reminder, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, or CISA, as we know it here in the US, has issued the Shields Up warning. Shields Up means, guys, you got to be careful. Heightened time of cybersecurity issues. So if you want to go and learn more about that, head over to cisa.org/shields up. And as a reminder, there are four primary things that they're driving for in Shields Up. It's reducing the likelihood of damage intrusion, taking steps to detect it if it occurs, how do you remediate, and then how do you protect and become more resilient. So go check that out. All right, everybody. Enough of me rambling on. I've got an incredible guest for us here today, and it's Rob Green. He's a co-founder and CTO over at a company called Dizzon. Now, Dizzon is on a mission to to make work fun. They say make work fun again, or make it fun for the first time. But with that, why don't we go ahead and bring Rob on up to the stage here? And Rob, welcome.
Hello. Thanks for having me, Jeff.
Hey, I'm so glad that you're here. And it seems kind of strange. I'm here from the home studio. You're up at Rackspace.
Yep, I'm at the castle. So great to be here, and it's an exciting place. And thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Now, Rob, you are a long time ago ex-Racker. I think you left us in about 2006. Is that correct?
Yeah. Early days of Rackspace, back when we were downtown, then a little, building, and then we moved out to Data Point in my time. So it was a great time for me in my career. I was director of Rackspace Technology Services. So it was, tremendous growth back then. I think I was employee 200. By the time I left, we had 2,000. So that was awesome.
That's right. Look at Wes. Once a Racker, always a Racker chiming in there. That is our mantra, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, and it's fun to talk about some of those early days and even some of the early leaders. We were talking about Lanham and Graham earlier. Just amazing individuals still making an impact in the tech world.
Absolutely, and taught me a lot. And taught me a lot about business culture and how to create a culture of winning, but also focus on people. That's really where Dizzon came from, is this idea of focusing on people versus tech, and then leveraging technology to make people's lives better.
Hey, well, let's talk about that a little bit. Tell us what is Dizzon and how is it helping to reinvent the way people work?
Yeah, so at Dizzon, we are a desktop as a service company officially, but we started about 11 years ago, before the moniker of DaaS was even popular or invented. We called it cloud delivered desktops. And the way we looked at it is, look, you shouldn't be bound to having to go to work every day in an office. You should be able to work from anywhere. You should be able to do fun things and balance life with work. We were a little early. This is 2011, timeframe, 2012 timeframe. We just had this in our hearts that, we could redefine the way the world works by giving people back more time, leveraging a very secure working environment through cloud delivered desktops, virtual desktops, however you want to call them. We call them digital workspaces today.
Yeah.
And we're kind of evolving in making our products better so that, folks can really truly work from anywhere. We even call it, where do you Dizzon? So
I like it.
That's our goal.
Well, that was really early days, and while the technology obviously was there to help make it happen, obviously I think what you'd probably echo is the fact that culture wasn't quite necessarily there yet. In fact, it wasn't even there. It was getting better, right before the pandemic stuff kicked in. But boy, did you ever have a good runway to get your act together and get the product together and get the vision together. And it's got to be a great world for you right now.
Absolutely. I mean, it started to turn around 2015 when we started to really embrace this idea of remote work, define it. BPOs, call centers were really into it because they were able to go out and find more staff. And it really resonated with the core tenets of getting outside your 30 square miles of your office in terms of recruiting, finding better talent, but also reducing the cost and with BYOD and things of that nature, but doing it securely. So, Dizzon has a lot of firsts. We were one of the first, to deliver virtual desktops in the cloud. We were one of the first to do soft phones over virtual desktops. Really? People thought we were crazy. In fact, the moniker of Dizzon in the first early years was, "This is not your grandma's VDI." So we were doing crazy things like going to people's offices and calling folks from a virtual desktop over a soft phone. Kind of mind-blowing kind of stuff back in 2012, 2013.
Yeah, I bet that got a lot of attention, got a lot of people looking at going, oh, maybe these guys are on to something.
Yeah. It's kind of cool. Oh, is that high definition video over virtual desktop? Okay.
How are you pulling that off? Well, let's talk a little bit about the tech. How do you enable this sort of stuff?
So really, it comes from a combination of really high end solid state disks, NVMe, but then combining that with some optimization over the WAN, and allowing our customers to stream those high end graphics interfaces. But doing so, at first it was on our old vSAN technology, but then we evolved and we partnered with Pure Storage. They were able to bring a lot of great tech with us, and then partnering with a lot of other now cloud organizations, but leveraging more of our software on top of that today. So we've evolved from more of a hardware play back in the early days where we built our own stuff. I think we had our vSAN before there was actually a vSAN technology, and then we just evolved to kind of this optimization, SD-WAN, and as well as just making the interfaces simpler to configure. So we take, a common, we leverage Horizon Enterprise VMware product on the back end, but we take the complexity out of it. So it would take you, 80 plus hours to deploy something like that, in our platform, you get it in about an hour, fully customized, fully tuned, ready to rock and roll for various use cases. And you got to imagine, over 10 years of doing this, we got a lot of use cases under our belt. So we just blueprint that and push it out to our orchestration engine.
Yeah. Do you find a lot of, I imagine that sort of helps as you go through different industries, manufacturing, financial services, healthcare have commonalities. Everybody thinks they're different and special, but there are probably commonalities across that. Does that help accelerate deployments for those different organizations?
Yeah, it does. I mean, and you would say they're about 80% the same, but that 20% difference is big, right? Whether or not you're using high-end graphics, if you're, you're a medical facility that does imaging, right? You need graphics, you need scanning, you need to be able to do that, versus, your call center that you're running hundreds of calls through a virtual desktop at somebody's home, not on your network, right? Which is even crazier. Yeah, and that's where our blueprinting technology comes in. So we basically take that, the 80%, and that's kind of stamp, repeat over and over again. And then we're able to take our modeling technology and say, okay, this use case is going to be very high on soft phone. So we partnered with Five9. I think we're the only desktop as a service who partners with Five9 and is certified. And we built that into our orchestration engine, so it's tuned and ready to go. So you don't have to go through the knobs and the tweaks and the things of that nature to get it to work. It works out of the box.
Yeah, you guys are all ready to go. So let me ask this question, guys. You folks who are listening, how many of you are using, or your companies are using, desktop as a service today? Just curious about a quick informal poll. You can just make a comment down below in the little comment section, and let us know. I'd be curious to know about that. So Rob, let's dig in a little bit more on the social side of it, outside of the tech. So how is this helping to make work fun?
Yeah, I mean, so the way we looked at it, so first of all, the name is kind of funny. So Dizzon actually comes from digital fission, and the idea was to separate you from the constraints of your office, right, or your technology being in your office. So that's where the name came from, and we started the business just really with this idea of work-life balance. We felt that, hey, I've got 4 kids. I wanted to go to the soccer games and basketball games and be there for my kids. And it was hard to balance work and be able to actually be a part of their lives. So
Because if you're not in your seat in the office, you're obviously not working.
You're not working, right? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Measured by butts and seats.
Butts and seats versus productivity. And that's really what we wanted to radiate productivity. And the idea to do that was give folks a way for them to interface, log on like they would normally log on. So you're seeing username, passwords, nothing complex at all. Just the normal way that you log on to your desktop or your laptop. It's just now more secure. And that's really what it was all about in driving collaboration, building in tools in which you can collaborate on the platform, building in tools that makes it super easy to deploy, redeploy. So we make it fun for the administrators who are actually managing all this stuff, because they go to one place, they update apps in one location and it's automatically pushed out in minutes. So we make their lives easier in terms of overhead and management. But then on the user side, it just works, and being able to work from anywhere. So we had a guy, one of our directors of support, he was back in my hometown in Maryland, and he worked from a boat for a month. He was on a boat, and he was doing his job and using their virtual desktops and killing it. So, and that's our mantra. It's like, where do you Dizzon? So now the world is your office, not just your local, office you have to go into every day. You can work from anywhere, business as usual.
And I just can't imagine the timing. Nobody wants a pandemic, but my gosh, the fact that we were all trained to be able to not just work from anywhere, or attempt to, not as smoothly as we might if we had some vision, but from a culture perspective, being the walls are 100% broken down at this point. I think about things that I've read. The CEO JP Morgan said, "Okay, everybody come back into the office," and I think 50% came in. I don't know what they did with the other 50. What do you do? You don't fire them. I don't know how you handle that. Yeah, and there are things that create that there's value in face-to-face stuff, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean that that's where 100% of your time becomes. We are using the term around Rackspace that your workstation, or wherever you are, is where you get your work done. But you come into an office, you get into a conference room for collaboration, you come into there for team building, you come into there for large community events, build some social capital with each other. But you don't necessarily do your work in the office anymore.
Yeah. And I think that more and more companies are going to see that. We see it with the onslaught of new customers we have coming on board, is that the balance, you actually do work, at your home office, and then you get to go and collaborate with your coworkers in special times. It makes it more real. It makes that time with them much more special. I know when we get together, so we drink our own champagne. So we have
the best way I've heard that phrase, by the way.
So funny. And the idea there is, look, if we find the best talent, no matter where you are, we've got folks in the Philippines using virtual desktops all the way to California, and we collaborate. We bring everybody together. When we meet in small groups, we created this back end in our HR group, said, hey, let's create tribes. So we created a tribal kind of council, if you will, that there's a group of people that are part of a tribe in a geo that helps kind of bring people together. So work now becomes more social
Yeah.
and you get to do your job, on the virtual desktop anywhere you are. But really, it comes down to being able to collaborate and do that in a smaller setting.
Well, let's talk about that for a second, because you just were earlier on in the conversation talked about how used to really tune the back end. You are in a hardware game now. You're looking to other providers just sort of do that out of the box. But the speed of light is still the speed of light, and latency is still latency. So how do you help have a great experience for people in the Philippines or in Philadelphia?
Got to get close. You're right. Speed of light is speed of light. So, about 3 years ago, we decided to go down this path of taking our technology to public cloud, and partnering with Rackspace, partnering with IBM, partnering with a lot of the big cloud providers, and just opening it up and saying, look, we got to get closer to our users. The speed of light is the speed of light. So we've deployed in various public cloud offerings all over the United States, in all regions of the United States, and then in the UK. We've got Amsterdam, we have Germany, Singapore, Tokyo. What's good about what we've been able to do is we've been able to take desktop as a service and really expand it, leveraging our software. We can even do private cloud, and it's really we've been solidified with our partnership with Rackspace as being able to leverage that private cloud that's hosted, and being able to push that out. So we got to get close to users and keep that latency low and that last mile low. And we can do that with our software.
Pretty incredible. Well, there's a comment in here. Varun says, the world is your office equals positive changes in productivity, employee satisfaction, revenue, and cost.
Amen.
Yeah, amen. It's like he's reading your brochure, right?
Like, yes, that's our commercial. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, you communicated it well here this morning. So, but let's talk for a second about what are you hearing from the customers who are then because imagine there's a little cajoling, especially pre-pandemic, when you had to convince them that desktop as a service was a good thing. What are the impacts that you're hearing from customers of the value of desktop as a service through Dizzon?
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you how many years from 2012 to 2018. It was the year of VDI, year of DAS, right? But it was a missionary, so it was a nice to have. And we started seeing the turn around 2019. Digital transformation was picking up, and has accelerated tremendously over the last 2 years. But it was picking up in 2019. We started seeing more and more folks saying, "Hey, let's embrace this BYOD." BYOD was a big driver.
Yeah, it was.
To be quite honest. And then as we kind of got out of 2019 and 2020, when the pandemic hit, it was really a function of, I got to put something together now because I got to send 3,000 people home tomorrow. And I can't tell you how many calls we got. I mean, big, security companies who monitor, folks' houses, they got to send their call center home. How do they maintain their service levels, and do so? And they called us, and we were able to step up and help them. And that was the beginning of the migration from a nice to have to a must have, right? And then folks 6 months in started saying, "Hey, people are still working. We're getting more work done. Hold on, this is actually working."
Wait a minute. This isn't just survival mode. This is enhanced productivity.
This is enhanced productivity. So it switched. Notwithstanding all the pressures of the pandemic and the tragedy of that. We got something out of it. We rebirthed into something that is more optimized, I think, and allows people to do their jobs securely from their homes, which is amazing. So it moved from a nice to have to a must have to, hey, this is enabling my digital transformation. This is now an advantage.
Right. It's now a compelling competing advantage against competitors. So I know that when Rackspace sent everybody home a couple of years ago in March, the management team executive leadership was really monitoring, customer satisfaction. Are we getting the tickets done? Are we getting customers in? Productivity actually went up. I mean, it was not expected by leadership, and I think that's probably consistent from around most customers or most companies around the world. That productivity actually went up. I mean, we were focused, and now it was a lot of learnings. How do you balance this work-life balance type thing? Because I think a lot of people went home with this mindset that I have to be sitting in my home office chair from 8 in the morning until 5 at night. But then the phone kept ringing before and after those time slots. So there's a lot of learnings for, those of us who had been working remote for a while have sort of figured out. But if you got some extra calls in the evening, you might just not be around between 2 and 3 or 4 when you go pick up the kids. And
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you start measuring productivity, measuring output as opposed to measuring time in a chair.
Yeah. Hours, right? You don't measure things by hours per se. You measure things by work product, and you start to. And I always think about work-life balance is more of the yin yang, right? So before it was a column, your life around work, right?
Yes.
Now
Oh,
it
it's a good way to put it.
Yeah, now it kind of commingles, and you got some give and you got some take, but it's
Yeah.
it's really the yin yang symbol of how work and life are balancing out. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, but you're able to do your work around your schedule, not necessarily work around your schedule. So that's
Well, I think that's a great way for us to go out to think about that, and of course, there's no better way to enable that than through Dizzon's products. So, lastly, how does somebody get signed up? How do they find out information about it, or take a little tour, take a demo?
Yeah, I mean, always hitting us up on Dizzon.com, which is our website, and we're more than happy to take you through a tour and show you the product.
Fantastic. Well, Rob, thank you so much for being back around. It's great to talk to a racker, even one that left us a good long while ago. And congratulations on all of the success. And we look forward to having you back on. I know there are some fun things coming from you guys later this summer, so maybe we can get you back in to talk about that when it's time.
Absolutely, looking forward to it. Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Have a great day. Enjoy your time at the office. It's his first time to be in Castle, I would think. Everyone, thank you so much. Wasn't that a great conversation? Not a lot of people answering if you guys are using just laptops running around the world or using desktop as a service. I'd be really curious to know more about that. All right. Well, with that, let's move on with the program, folks. As always, the audio from this can be found over at rackspace.com/solve/119. And as I mentioned before, nothing to sell there. No pop-ups asking what product you want to buy other than, hey, come get what you need. All right. Well, that takes us into our topic of this week in cloud. And that is where the cloud is making the news. And I get to tell you why it's important to you. And it starts with an article that comes to us from Gartner. Now, this is squarely in line with the conversation that I just had with Rob from over Dizzon, and it's about an article from Gartner about hybrid work helps to boost the use of cloud services. So we all know that the cloud is a market that is growing, that is expanding. Well, they're crediting the fact that people are working in remote environments, and that's driving more cloud consumption. You heard it from Rob. The more customers that he gets, the more cloud consumption that he is going to also be driving from his organization. In fact, if you look at the growth in cloud, it actually grew. Let's see what they say in this article. And by the way, you can find that article over at rackspace.com/solve/119. 20% increase over last year. So the amount of money spent in 2020 is expected to be $494 billion. That's right, $424 billion. And it's expected to grow at the same pace for next year. So huge growth. If you ever wondered if the market you're in is the right one, well, if it's tech and it works in and around cloud, it is the place to be. Speaking of cloud growth, there's been some announcements of earnings this past week. Microsoft announced their cloud revenue at $23.4 billion in Q3. Now, of course, they run a different type of a fiscal schedule or year. Their year starts on July 1, so they're just finishing up their Q3. And so one of the reasons I brought this up is I found this article after I found the last one, and where they're talking about cloud growth being around 20.4%. Well, Microsoft driving it at 32% for their environment. So Microsoft, in fact, there's lots of other articles out there that are talking about how Microsoft is actually not just catching up to, but in a lot of ways passing Amazon as that, the elephant in the room. And so it'd be interesting to watch what happens in this space as we think about which cloud is winning, if you will. And so Amazon having that first mover advantage, but Microsoft really catching up. And it's that combination of their Azure offerings, their 365 offerings, and then, of course, their business cloud offerings that I think it's that combination cohesive stuff that's driving that forward. All right. Well, let's go see what's new from the cloud providers, shall we? And for us, it always starts with what's happening over at AWS. Now, AWS announces general availability of their EC2 i4i. VMs. Now, these VMs are specifically tuned and designed for storage and I/O intensive workloads. And if you go and look at this at the link that's available over at the Solve webpage /119, you will find that there is some highly tuned gear inside of here. In fact, some custom designed SSDs inside of here that are just designed for and built and used by Amazon. So go check out some of the stats that exist there. If you are building an application that is storage and I/O intensive, well, has AWS got a VM for you? Now, over at Azure wants to make you famous. How do they want to make you famous? Well, if you're amazing at creating VMs and creating VM images that you think the broader world would want to use, well, they've created a community gallery feature, and you can submit your VMs into there. So tuned for specific workloads, tuned for use cases, tuned for industry. You be the creative one. Go figure out what the best way to do that is. Microsoft is ready for you with their new preview of that community gallery offering. Now, over at GCP, we have the ability to configure the time travel window. I just brought this article up because I wanted to say time travel window on this broadcast. And it is in a preview feature. So what time travel does is it allows you in your BigQuery environments to keep a set of your data across a larger window of time, so that one, from a recovery point of view, if something goes south, but then also two, being able to compare and contrast against a larger window of what's changing inside of that data set and how you might use it. So in preview, but the ability to not just take the static time travel settings, but be able to configure it yourself. All right, well, that's what's new in the cloud releases from our cloud providers. You can find all of that information out, as I mentioned, over at rackspace.com/solve/119. Now, just as I say every week, this show is not a Cloud Talk Live is a thought leadership program. I'm not here to sell you anything other than the fact that Rackspace is a great place to come and spend time. So many of you have reached out as you've watched the program, as you've been going through the interview process. I love that, because then eventually I get a message on our internal messaging systems going, "Hey, I made it in," and it's always so exciting. Or I see you in our Rookie O classes. Well, if you are a really super smart in cloud native development, we're looking for a lead architect around cloud native development. Now, this type of a person, the type of role we're looking to fill here, is somebody who will have the ability to demonstrate the ability to think strategically about business, create technical definitions around customer objectives and complex situations, and develop solutions and strategies, motivate and mobilize resources, and deliver results. Obviously, somebody who is a cloud native development architect is somebody who thinks all the way through, not just the technical aspect, but how do you balance what the customer is trying to do from a business point of view, and be able to apply just the right technology to that scenario to create meaningful business outcomes. In fact, that's what we do here at Rackspace every single day. We just need more people to come help. If you are that person or know somebody who is, send them on over to rackspace.com/solve/119, where you'll find a link to the full job description and even be able to apply right from there online. Folks, the audio from this is available in the Cloud Talk podcast. If you're not already subscribed, do me a favor, go subscribe. It would make me oh so happy. You can find it anywhere. You can find Cloud Talk anywhere that the podcasts are found. Just go reach out for them over there. All right, well, that brings us up to about the end of our program, other than for me to brag about our amazing sponsor, App Dynamics. You've seen them across the bottom of the screen, advertised all the way through. But folks, software, especially cloud native developed software, must have more than just monitoring. That's where software observability truly comes in, where you're observing everything from the network components, the end user experience, the code performance, the database performance, all of it, all the way through, in creating amazing end user customer experience through software observability. If you're in this space, well, head on over to appdynamics.com and check them out. Tell them I sent you. All right. Well, everyone, I think that's going to just about do it for today's episode. We are, of course, back on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday. I will actually be live from Nashville, my fancy hotel room from Nashville, doing the program. So we'll see how many of these graphics come along, but we will absolutely be here next week and look forward to seeing you. We've got great episodes on Tuesday and Thursday. I hope that you have a great week. And reach out to us and send us an email at solve@rackspace.com. Track us down over at on LinkedIn and send us messages there. But huge thank you, of course, to App Dynamics and to everyone who helps with the program, Daniel, Megan, Julia, and anyone else who had a chance to play here. And don't forget to go check out our good friends over at Dizzon.com, Dizzion.com, and get into the desktop as a service space. Everyone, I hope you have an amazing rest of your day here on Friday Eve.